have an uninterrupted electricity and water supply from solar energy in the Gambia and beyond, worry no more. Because Solar Enterprise will provide you with the solutions at reasonable cost. We have experienced personnel who can install and advise you about your electricity and water supply with a warranty period. We have good quality solar products from North America and Europe. We provide services and sell products to individuals, organizations, institutions, private offices, communities, and government. These products are solar panels, batteries, charge controllers, inverters, water pump, water heaters, freezers, submersible pumps, and general solar accessories. Visit our stores at 48 Kairaba Avenue and Brusubi Highway, or you can call us on 7657 479 980-8483, 340-9400 or 635-9906.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Brusubi opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited, or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
Agada. Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Nsila ID soto.
Ha, sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Ha,
mbare mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Janno mi yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Ha. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jang.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kono kiya bele. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nim kodi maraw. Janno number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wala nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma ni domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Ha e wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
And welcome. This is the Brunch on Kerfatu Live. I am Lamin Cham, and welcome to our weekly look at current affairs. That is, issues that dominates the news in the Gambia over the last 7 days. Well, normally, of course, that would have been the Constitution. That is the controversial 2024 draft Constitution, which has attracted widespread criticisms since it was gazetted 10 days ago or so. We also have, over the last week, the side of the Ministry of Justice, the people who masterminded the draft. We know from them that they actually claiming they have made consultations. But then, of course, the question remains whether what they have put in the draft is definitely reflective of what have been the inputs of those they consulted. These and other issues are in the topic for discussion today. And with me, I'm pleased to introduce Alhaji Mamadi Kurang. Well, Mamadi Kurang, of course, wears so many caps. He's a professional accountant, management training consultant, an educational consultant, and much recently, a politician. Mamadi, welcome to the Brunch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cham. My pleasure to be here.
Well, Mamadi, of course, also was well known for being the secretary at the Truth and Reconciliation, rather the Jane Commission, the commission that investigated assets of the former president and his associates. He was the first executive secretary in that commission. Yes, like I said, much recently, of course, he throws a towel into politics, and in fact was an aspirant in the last presidential elections. Mamadi has his nose on the ground when it comes to everything or anything Gambian affairs. So Mamadi, welcome.
Thank you.
Let me first do as we always do here. When you come for the first time on the Brunch, we tell the listeners or the viewers very, very quickly your background. You are quite well known in the country, but let's just play the devil's advocate. We don't know you. Where do you come from in the Gambia?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cham, and also appreciate and thanks to your listeners. And I'm very pleased to be invited to this August program for Kerfatu, which is the Brunch. I followed it a couple of times on very interesting and contentious issues.
Thank you.
And I'm very pleased to be here today. And my regards to also my wife, Fatu.
Oh, Fatu too.
Yes, I always tell her, you can get caught in the crossfire, but I never mean anything, as a journalist. So I'm Mamadi. I was born in Kurang, in Nyamina East.
Okay.
And I started my primary school there. Mm-hmm. I completed my primary school in St. Mary's in Banjul. Oh. And went to St. Augustine's and did my O-levels and A-levels in St. Augustine's. Okay. My career in maybe public started in St. Augustine's when I was appointed as a head boy.
All right.
After the A-levels in St. Augustine's, I got a government scholarship.
Oh, yeah.
Went to study in Kuala Lumpur.
Malaysia.
In Malaysia.
At that time, there were Yeah, there was this Malaysian scholarship that comes.
Yes, there was what is called the MTCP, the Malaysian Technical Cooperation Scholarship, which is like a Commonwealth award.
Is it still going on?
Yeah, I believe it's probably maybe not on the scale that it was when we were there.
Yeah,
but
I remember a lot of people.
Somehow it's a lot of, we used to have like 10, 20, 30 people.
From Gambia?
Yeah, quite a number of people.
Who were any prominent name among your batch? There?
Oh yeah, there are quite a number of them. I mean, there is...
I used to know one Lamin. We used to work with GRTS.
Lamin Fati, okay. No, I haven't been in the same batch with him, but there were guys like, I think quite a number of them. There is a current judge that I met there of the Supreme Court, I said to say.
Yeah.
There was the master of the Supreme Court, Usman Jammeh. There is Lamin Kamara, who is also a lawyer. And there are Yankuba Mambrais, who is the head of UNA at the moment.
Oh, really?
And quite a number. Marisen, who was a former Justice Minister of at Yahya Jammeh's time. You know, so I'm sure I cannot name so many of them. A lot of others have also been ministers. There was another guy who was a minister in Jammeh. So there were a lot of things, and that's a testimony to the quality of education
in that area.
In Malaysia. At the university in Kuala Lumpur is a combination of the British educational system combined with the American, you know, we used to call it, you use American textbooks, but you are graded on a British system, which is very stingy. So you have to fight for grades, you know, in order to qualify. Okay. So I studied economics. I did a bachelor's degree in economics with an honors. And when I was there, I also decided to do my private studies because I had classmates who were doing professional accounting, you know, as a private thing. So I got inspired, and I also started the ACCA as a chartered accountant. I didn't qualify there. I came in and worked in a bank, and then qualified while I was still working with the bank.
Which bank was it?
That was the Arab Gambian Islamic Bank. Yes. So I qualified as a chartered accountant while I was still working there. I worked there for like 3 years as an investment analyst and a risk analyst, and left to set up Jolof Tutors.
Jolof Tutors.
Yeah, I left to set up Jolof Tutors in the year 2000. Yeah, I set up Jolof Tutors. I was already inspired with private education and how it was conducted in Malaysia. So when I watched it and I saw these small colleges in Kuala Lumpur, I went there. My first experience, I went there to take my ACCA private exams. So, and I saw how they were organized, and they were really doing very good quality. And I said to myself, well, this can happen in the Gambia. So when I left the bank, I decided that, well, this is something I might like to look into, you know, and I set up Jolof Tutors.
Well, I would say very, very famous and popular and successful, I dare say.
Yeah. I mean, it's still still existing. For we ran it for 20 years. We decided to focus on professional accounting. So teach the people and let them go and take the professional exams. And now when I
still going on?
Yeah, when I walk into several government offices, I see our graduates everywhere. People tell me, why is it not like before? But you need to know that when circumstances in your environment change, you know, we in management we call it pestle, political, economic, social, technological circumstances. There is the University of the Gambia, which had not taken shape when I started Jolof. And now university has taken shape. It's much cheaper to go to university than to do the ACCA. The ACCA, you are not guaranteed. You can be there for 10 years without passing. And then you can go to university in 3 years and get a bachelor's degree and get a job at the bank. So if I had an opportunity and I'm coming up, I would first go to university. Like I did, you go to university first and do a professional. So the university has taken the steam out of the professional, which is good. But we still specialize on just accounting. We were doing so many other things. Technology also. It used to be very popular. And now you can't just teach IT because every kid has a smartphone, which I call a much bigger, better computer than the computers we were teaching in those days. So it doesn't make sense again. So we contributed to the revolution.
All this contributed to the fact that it is really gradually getting out of fashion.
Yeah, I mean, you need to adjust with time.
Yeah.
You know, and over the years, I left the country also, went to Liberia and Sierra Leone, and taught there, introduced the same thing there.
Yeah.
But like, I am more like an explorer. I mean, so I go ahead of maybe the curve. And there are still a lot of people doing professional teaching, giving. One thing I never like in private education is giving my own certificates to people, because I think that kind of is very, very tricky sometimes. There are a lot of things that come in. So I prefer to train people and then let them go and take international exams. And international exams now, with the dollar C also down, maybe before you could sit one ACCA exams at £40, and the dollar C to the pound was like maybe $30. Now you will pay £90, and the pound has gone up to maybe 90. So people, the poverty rate in the country also, makes the external exam very unpopular. So we accept this reality, but we're still very proud that the revolution we started in 2000, 23 years ago, has beared fruit. There are about 10,000 people. When I joined politics, every village I go, I see somebody who said, "Oh, I was there," or "My child was there," or "My brother was there."
Right.
And I think that was it. So I worked I started up Jolof Tutors. Along the way, obviously, I did consultancies. Like I told you, I went to Monrovia. I did a consultancy also with the American government to train government sector workers in Liberia. And came back and then did the Janet Commission in 2017, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Oh yes, it's quite impressive. A journey and exploration, as you said, an adventure. And yes, Jolof was really remarkable name that a lot of people really remembered for its quality and its popularity. Now, let's go now to brass task now. Since you have now given a lot of attention to politics in the country, why do you go into politics?
Well, you have to be a little bit philosophical about life. Some people like to say, "Oh, you went into politics," or people go into politics for money, for position, or for something else.
For political power.
Yeah, for that's
for the trappings of power.
Exactly, and that's very simplistic. Politics is part of human nature. I mean, since, thousands of years ago, the time of Plato and Aristotle, in the ancient Greeks and ancient Rome, politics has been there. And as Muslims, we know that the Islamic empire has some of the characteristics of a political system. Even the religion itself, is built on those fundamentals. So it's part of the daily life. And that's generally. Personally, every individual goes through phases. Like I told you, I was a banker, and when I felt that there was time for me to move to something, I decided to go into something that will impact my society. I didn't set up Jolof Tutors to look for money. I set it up to change.
There was profit also.
Yeah, there is profit. There is money, and in when you do training, and at a time when everybody was coming, I was able to sponsor a lot of people. I'm very proud of that, and with the finances that we had at that time, without any NGO or government help. But that's accidental to your passion. It was my passion to teach. I have taught you. If I tell you, when I was in St. Augustine's at high school, I was teaching and I was getting some little money. So I realized that people wanted me to explain. So when I went to the university also, accounting was so easy for me. So some students will come to me and I would teach them and show them, and they were classmates, and maybe you get little things out of that. So what you get from fellow students, if you teach them, it's not because of the money, but maybe, or what they give you, but it's because you love to do it. So when I left university, I decided that after the banking experience, I wanted something that will impact, because I saw some things in the society which has got to do with lack of financial knowledge, contributing to lack of transparency. I had transparency issues when I was at the bank, and I felt that to contribute more to financial transparency, I need to set up a school. So when I tell you I'm a pioneer, when I see something wrong around me, I like to get up and do something about it. So after being 22 years or 23 years teaching or 20 years teaching, I decided, I felt that the classroom was, I have done most of the things I could do and the impact I could have on the classroom. And but I still need a bigger impact on my society. I need a legacy on something, and politics gives me that option. And I think if you look at the political history of the Gambia, most of the ministers in the Jawara government have been teachers before. You know, so when you are into teaching, getting out and speaking to people, even when you are in the classroom, there is politics, because things will come up. And
teachers were generally more au fait with you know, government matters than, or maybe they care more.
Yes, you care, because students ask you probing questions. You have to answer them, and issues are going around. You cannot avoid talking about them in the classroom. So eventually you talk about it, and you can't just be in a classroom talking and talking and talking.
Every teacher has to answer a question on politics
in life. So exactly. So like Yunus Khan was a famous economist in Bangladesh who started the Grameen banking. And when they asked him, why did you leave the classroom to go and set up a bank? And he said, well, we sit in the classroom and teach all these fancy theories. But those fancy theories that we teach in the classroom, what impact do they have on the life of the common man? So every teacher tend to ask yourself this question. And so people say, oh, you have run away from teaching. You know, they always tell teachers, but teachers always have a vision a lot of times that I can do something more than what I'm doing to these 40 students in a classroom. So I got this inspiration that if I go into politics, you know, I will be able to explain to people, you know, to understand the issues that affect them more easily. Because I realize that people understand when I explain complex things to them, they understand it easily. I have that natural ability. So I also said to myself, and the country is going through a transition. I've been very, very opinionated. Even before.
Let's go a little bit back there. Before you joined politics, this is, like you said, it was post 2016 elections.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
What inspired? Is your inspiration, did it come from the experience of the country in 2016?
I think going into politics, my main inspiration came from maybe the Janneh Commission.
All right.
I think the Janneh Commission was more like, it's a one-time experience. I always tell people, I don't think anybody will have that kind of experience that we had at Janneh Commission, because there may never be a 22-year-old dictator in this country again. We don't pray for that. A military dictator said. And the amount and the scale that was involved was not just about Janneh. It was about the whole country and the history of the country. And I was the custodian of the information.
Yes.
I mean, every information that comes in to the commission, you know, most of it comes through me. And I saw a lot of things. I was in charge of the presidential files, that was from 1965, the files that Jawara hold up to 1994, and from 1994 to 2016, every presidential file. You don't get access to that just because you're a cabinet minister or you are a permanent secretary. So I saw a lot of things, and I read a lot of things. I'm an avid reader, and the interactions and the experience I had also, I feel that the country needs people like me to come and throw, you know, add some sauce, some spice to the sauce in the politics, to make the life better for our people. Because, Mr. Cham, really politics, every man that's going into politics will have to tell you that I feel I can make a difference and I can do something or say some things or participate in some things that can make the life of the common man better. So I had that feeling as I was going through the investigations, and obviously the way I left the commission also.
The circumstances.
The circumstances I left, you know, for me was a great injustice, not just personally to me, because it wasn't the biggest job I did in my life.
But certainly one that exposed you.
Yeah. Okay. Financially. It wasn't the biggest job,
and of course,
but in terms of exposure and knowing about my country, it was the biggest job. It was the biggest opportunity for me to see what really was happening in this country as the secretary. And I felt that when I left,
you controversially left alleging that there are certain things that you think are irregular in terms of the execution of the mandate of the commission.
Yes, I mean, I think everybody knows the circumstances under which I left. I felt grieved.
But you don't think you were overzealous and, let's say, disobedient to authority by, unnecessarily rebelling against authority and attempt, maybe they said, your personal relations with members of the commission that may have led to your decision. They said it was irrational, unnecessary, and perhaps overzealous. What did you say?
Well, I would only respond to the statement of the Attorney General at that time, because he didn't use the word irrational.
Yeah, but people think
people have their opinion. Yeah. And I think some of the people that said certain things, as we sit now, they would like to swallow what they said, because I've been vindicated. And yes, I mean, the Attorney General at that time said, okay, my position is untenable. Yeah. I've gone beyond my powers. But obviously, I may not have the right to do certain things, but I was sworn in. When you have a commission, I was sworn in 3 times. Yeah.
But that commission was quite a respected institution at the time, and every eye, and every mind was focused on it. So it was important for decorum or sanity, coming from there. But your abrupt and irrational behavior was seen to be not in the interest of
now you call it, now you yourself is calling it abrupt and irrational.
I read
you might have at that time.
Commentator said, not me.
do you think some of them have not regretted what they said? Some of them now are doing more irrational things. We all saw how some people left the government, and when they left, they started talking. Well, one thing you should pay attention to: when I left the commission, I didn't give any public interview like this. For almost a year. I mean, why do you think so? Because I have respect for the institution that was set by an act of parliament, that no matter what my disagreement at the time, I still need to allow them to do their work. Now that Gambians have seen them do their work, and then they are weighing it side by side with what I have said was going on. I mean, there was a $1 billion at stake, $1 billion at stake at that moment. And where is the money now? Nobody can tell you where's the money. So you could say, when I give you a simple example. When I walked into the Attorney General's office, when he was informing me about the fact that my position is untenable, I was thinking that based on the communication I had with him, that he was gonna talk and try to see how revenue recovering at that time could follow a more judicious and rational process. So what is actually irrational is the way Jammeh's assets have been disposed. And I think that you may say I'm irrational, that would be subjective, but the irrationality of the disposal of Jammeh's assets is an objective statement.
It still remains a controversial issue, an inconclusive matter, if you like. Here are you made observations, and according to you, you have been vindicated that the way the assets were disposed of were either undervalued, or undervalued, or given away at prices that are unreasonable, and there was no, according to you, there wasn't money for the value of the assets, and you said that was improper. Your recent interview with I think Fatu Network, you said what probably have been lost in terms of revenue from the sales is monumental. Do you still hold that view? Yes.
I mean, you see, some people who don't understand how governments work jump straight into who buy this particular Homer car, and I saw the Homer car with so and so. That's at the end of the process. The whole thing was, the most important thing was, what was the procedure that was followed in organizing the sale? Was it transparent? Was it done using the proper channels? It was not done using the proper channels. Who was responsible? We had the asset management and recovery. We had a government set up that with departments, experts in finance, valuations, and all that.
Those were not used.
They were not used. personal individuals were selected to dispose the assets. So the loss, I cannot tell you how much we actually lost. It's so tremendous. I mean, if you Jame's
was the commission not mandated to do its own seizures and disposals? Wasn't that part of?
Yeah, you know, there are two stages of there are two kinds of disposals. There may be a disposal that you do while a commission is going on, simply because you feel that you do not want the asset to lose value before the end of the investigation, which will be a waste of tax money.
Yeah.
For example, you have
perishable commodities.
Exactly, perishable commodities.
Yeah.
Vehicles are perishable. A commission that took 2 years or 3 years after Jamel left, a vehicle that is standing at one place will lose value drastically. So the commission took actions to dispose of some of the vehicles, the tractors, etc.
You think that was abuse?
Yeah.
They used that provided a cover to abuse the system.
That's one of the irregularities that happened. But what I'm saying is that was one part of the process. The other part of the logical argument to sell is after, which is the landed properties, which do not tend to lose value as time goes on.
Matter of fact,
appreciate in value.
Yeah.
So you wait until you finish the investigation, then you start dealing with the landed properties, and that's what they did, which is not a problem. No landed property was sold, as far as I know, as when the commission was going on. I thought that all the landed properties were sold at the end of the commission. Now, that's why I'm saying the process, the procedure, the individuals, the selection of personnel. You see, when you tell Gambians a system, they don't even understand what is a system, some people. But here is an example of one small part. If a system is A to Z, this is just another S or F in that system. How do you dispose of assets that the government sees from a corrupt individual? It must be very transparent. But this is the question that the Gambians have. If you come back to the people and say, oh, Jame misappropriated, let's say, how do I call it? They said, the commission officially said $300 and something million plus other things, that were misappropriated, which, you can say, okay, every $20 million is a billion. So this is so many billions of dollars. And then you come back and tell the people, oh, we only collected 1 billion.
Okay.
There's a big question mark.
Absolutely.
The arithmetic does not tally. So you don't need detailed knowledge like me or you, an investigator, to go in and say, oh, where are the assets and how many of the assets? You just need a logical, ordinary man who has watched the proceedings of the commission, who saw the assets being listed, who know which assets Jame carries in this country, for you to come back and say, oh no, there is something that is missing. And we know what is missing.
Good. And what is your position on the fact that Parliament requested a list of the people who, bought these assets and for who, and the government said, well, for purposes of secrecy, the buyers may not want their names to be published. Because of that, they have not, I think, publicly released the names of the buyers.
Yeah, I think that is just, if you are watchful or somebody who observes systems, you will know that's one of the main problems. Because if you tell me that this was a transparent process, that we dispose of assets in a transparent manner, obviously releasing the names
shouldn't be a problem.
If it was an open.
But what do you make of the argument that the people who bought needs secrecy?
Well, no, I think that the government is giving a lame excuse. That for me is not acceptable. I think it's the government condoning, the disenfranchisement of the population and the lack of protection of the wealth of the nation.
Could it be, as well, critics would say, especially Jammeh supporters in Parliament and others said, many government officials implicated in what you would say the irregular disposal of the properties. They benefited from it.
Yes, obviously. Government and non-government officials, people benefited who are still part of the system or not part of the system. Lots of people benefited with connections. You know how it goes in the Gambia. You know, I remember people when the time of the tractors, people were coming and saying, oh, I want a tractor. And they were expecting that, you know, you would give them special privileges simply because they are specially privileged or specially connected. But that's the nature. I think the Gambian population is in no doubt that people benefited unduly at the expense of the taxpayer.
I see. So if you, just to move on from the commission, if you would say one or two things about how you think should be done with the remaining irregularities that you think have not been addressed, for example, the total sum of money, they claim to have received from the proceeds of the sale of the properties, and then the conduct, how it go. What would you say in a few words, that process, how do you describe it? You famously said, for anybody to know exactly what happened, it has to take a change of government.
Yeah. So you're asking for like my...
Yeah, and you still believe that nobody will be able to know anything except the new government, because this one is reluctant to give information because apparently and allegedly senior members in the government are implicated in.
Yeah. I mean, like I always say, you know, at the time of that the assets were being handled and disposed of, this is one of the roots of my saying 6 and 9, because it was a coalition government of the NPP and the UDP, and I don't think if any one of them is in power, Gambians will know the true story. I mean, so
even if MPP leaves and the UDP takes over, you think there will still be no full disclosure?
I think there will even be less disclosure when the UDP takes over, because I think I know that there are prominent members of the UDP who know very well, you know, and have a hand in the disposal of the assets of Cham.
And equally in the current government.
And equally in the NPP Barrow government.
So there's so many things you said. You famously said the NPP and the UDP are 6 and 9.
Yes, because I mean, if you go to parliament, you share the pajero, you increase your allowances, and there is no quarrel. And then you dispose of the assets and you conduct an investigation of Yaya Jammeh, there is no quarrel. And then when you split, then there is quarrel about minor things. These are major things. There is a quarrel about minor things. Me as an ordinary Gambian, what would I say? I mean, I would say that, well, you guys only quarrel when your individual interests are at stake. But when your common interest was at stake and is at stake in the National Assembly, there is no quarrel. It's complete quiet. You share the pajeros, no problem. You increase your allowances, no problem. You dispose of the assets of Yaya Jammeh, there was no quarrel, nobody even heard about it. Right? And then when you disperse, Gambians are just being fed with this thing of, oh, is Barrow against us, is us against Barrow, is UDP against that. No. As a Gambian, you know, when I entered politics, I know, I promised myself that no matter what it takes, I would like to say it as it is. It's very difficult in this country because you are called into question in so many ways by people who don't even understand the full picture, which is very difficult to understand. Even me, who have participated in an investigation, does not understand the full picture. Only the government as a collective unit. I'm not saying Barrow. Even Barrow does not understand the full picture. Even Dabo does not understand the full picture. I know even Barrow and Dabo are less informed than some people in their parties. So, but the ordinary man sitting in Finland who has no idea about what happens on the ground will just come out with a bomb and a bazooka and then just throw it on a politician. And then he expects that to stick. So there's a difficulty in the question of...
But isn't it ultimately the overall responsibility of the government of the day to get to the bottom of these things? I mean, isn't it their responsibility?
Yes, it's the responsibility of the government. It's the responsibility and mandate of the President of the Republic. It's a responsibility for the members of the Parliament. They should be exchanging blows about this because this is money that their constituents need. But most of these parliamentarians, I know, they put on air conditions, they put the glasses up, they go to the village, they pass by the people, they just say peep, peep, and they pass. These guys have no conscience. They will not go to the parliament and fight for the common man. But the common man will be in the market fighting each other. But the parliamentarians will never fight. This is where they should be exchanging blows, literally. Right? But it's not happening because the elites, these are the new elites that we have in this country since 2017 up to now, have gone into a conspiracy against the common man. And on both sides of the political divide. The common man has been betrayed. And the common man has been set against each other. Like we always see in the colonialism, when the Europeans came. I mean, they set up blacks against blacks. They were taking people from Bakau to go and fight people in Sukuta. They were taking people from Banjul to go and fight people in Nyomi. And that is still happening. You are speaking for the truth. You are fighting for Sukuta in 18 something, and then they will take people from Banjul to come and kill you.
I see.
So nothing has changed. And this, when we say Pan-Africanism, this is what we mean. Let the black man stop fighting the black man simply because he's telling you the truth. Malcolm X went down. Martin Luther King went down. Who killed them? Black people. Do you think black people in Gambia are better than black people who killed Malcolm X?
Okay. Let's water down the conversation from the high philosophical point of view to come down to these very contemporary issues we're talking about. Okay, when you came into politics, you came on your own. You presented yourself as an independent candidate. Am I not right? Why didn't you feel it necessary to associate yourself with one group or the other at the time?
Yeah, because
you obviously knew in realistic terms that you had no chance.
No, I mean
to get elected on an independent ticket at that time.
I mean, I went with thousands of people to nominate me. You know, if you watch the videos, even the politician, independent candidates who came with 3-4 people to get nominated. I mean, they are not going to tell you that I'm not going to win. So politics.
But you're an intelligent man. You knew that at the time, looking at the other players in the field, you knew you could never get far with that.
You don't say,
even if you had crossed it.
In politics, you see, the psychology of the politician is that when you go as you will win. Yeah, you make your rational calculations as you go along, but that doesn't mean that sometimes politics, you are not just focused on win. You want to get a message across. And I think I wanted to get a message across. And yeah, you focus on a little bit of trying to win votes, but you are more concerned with let people hear what I have to say. And that I did. I had what I have to say. And obviously, when it comes to the balloting, I endorse people. I mean, because I felt
when you could not meet the criteria according to the IEC.
Yeah, I met the criteria. The IEC, we saw what the Supreme Court said. They said the IEC faltered, and how did they falter? They when you submit your nomination, the IEC is supposed to come back to you tell you, oh look. Mr. Cham, you gave this form, you fill here, and then instead of saying it as Dokita, you wrote it as doctor, right? Or instead of saying Youth for Change, you should write it as Mamadi Kurang. This is what the law says.
But they didn't do that.
And this is what is a transparent democracy. The IEC should not decide who should contact. You see, in America, the greatest democracy for 200 and something years since 1776. You know what the Supreme Court of the America is telling the government? It is the American voter that should decide whether Donald Trump should be elected or not. Yeah. Not any court of law, not any political party, much more an independent electoral commission that you don't even hear about when you go to America. Now here, the independent electoral commission is so important. For what? Why are they so important?
Ironically, if they are so important in determining who can contest, they are powerless when it comes to determining who can vote.
Yeah, but that's the first point. The law says when people submit forms, the IEC, when they see errors, that's why they give you 1 week. But come on, Mr. Cham. Who would give a man a form and he sits on it for 1 week? And he tells you there is a 1 week waiting period. And at the end of that 1 week, he comes out and tells you, oh, you are rejected. Why am I rejected? Because you made a clerical error. I mean, that's so shameful. I'm very ashamed to be part of a country that has that system. It was a Jami indoctrinated system of the IEC is all powerful. They can do what they want. You can't do nothing about it. They can even ban you if they want. But even and they are civil servants. They can bring. I'm telling you, this is just a precedent. But with that kind of mentality, you know what it can bring? It can bring a country down.
Yeah. Okay.
An independent electoral commission that does not do its job according to the law can bring down a country. Can bring civil rights.
You know what happened afterward? After you people have been denied, the right to contest. Of course, the Supreme Court ruled favorably on your side, but it was too late actually for the elections. We saw Mamadou Sabali of UDP, who was also disqualified in Brikama when he wanted to contest for the Busumbala seat.
Exactly. You see, when he was in Busumbala, there was resistance. There was almost noise.
Yeah, people resisted.
There was almost chaos.
Yes.
It could have been worse than that. But I'm just telling you, they should not do that. Because we cannot allow civil servants.
What I don't understand, like you said, you made a good point. And I'm trying to emphasize this irony. If you say the IEC has the powers to say, oh, you are candidate, is not disqualified, you are not qualified because you don't meet criteria A and D, and then you have the same IEC who have been ripped of the powers to determine who can vote through this attestation. I mean, they have been told that anybody who turns up with an attestation or ID card or passport, you have no power to interview the person, you just register. Yet you give them the powers to, to block candidates who might have not missed criteria 1 or 2. What do you think should be done with the IEC? Of course, we know we are coming to the Constitution. The draft is, recommending, and what they call is now boundary and electoral commission or something like that. What do you think in terms of reform should the IEC go through in order to have a hitch-free, people would call, election?
Yeah, I think the laws are very simple. Obey the law, because that's what the Supreme Court is telling them. You have your own laws which are clear, but you deviated from your law. And the whole thing was a trap because they did not give time for adjournment for people to challenge them legally, which is unconstitutional. They would have been meant the elections will be postponed. No, but what I'm saying is that is why the nomination process should not be brought so close to the ballot box. Why? This should be done months before. So there is already an inherent cheating mechanism with the limited time, with the limited time between the time for nomination, 1 week, and the country is on the tension, and then some civil servants go and sit down and just say, oh, this guy is qualified, this guy is not qualified. And then look at the attitude. Ask Dr. Cisse about the attitude of the IEC when you go to their office and try to tell them, oh, why am I this guy? Oh, come on, they were feeling like angels. Wow, I am amazed. You see, me, I can say anything because politics does not hold me, Mr. Cham.
But they said 1 year or 2 in politics. Well, even a week is a long.
Yeah, it's a long time. What I saw was, I was like, but what kind of government? You just asked me a question. The law does not give them the chance to determine who should vote, citizenship and all that. But they cannot have those powers. That is beyond them. How can they go to every village and determine who was born there?
What I mean is, in the past, a claimant for a voter's card, the Constitution gives the electoral officer, or how do they call it, registering officer, or in election time they call them returning officers, but during registration they call them registration officers, to interview the claimants to establish whether the guy is a Gambian or not. That used to happen even before the IEC and at the beginning of the PIEC. But there was an amendment in the Election Act which now disarm them from interviewing claimants and only tell them register anybody who turns up with an ID card, passport, or Alcalo or CEFO attestation. So now the IEC is powerless. Anybody who turns up with these documents, they will automatically register instead of the past when they have the powers to interview and reject or refuse your application. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the IEC should be as powerless as possible. Because...
But then who should have these powers then?
If somebody has a document...
Yeah.
I mean, it's a national document.
No, but then we know how people can acquire documents.
Okay.
People can acquire documents.
Yeah, people got it. That's why I'm saying it comes back to the integrity of the system itself.
Yeah, but if you call election body independent, you should give that independence to determine how you obtain your citizenship or whether you are really a Gambian. We know people can fraudulently get Gambian card.
That does not. We should not try.
That was the system.
We should not try to overemphasize the importance of the IEC. There was a time, as you are saying, the IEC itself was a branch of the government.
Yes,
yeah,
and they had power. They were rejecting people who are foreigners.
So if they are part of the government now, they are not even part of the government.
Yeah,
you understand?
But in many respects, the job of the then registration body was even better or more independent than now.
You know, this is very tricky because for me, as an individual, my vision is that it is so easy to count 2.5 million people. It's very easy. It's so easy to give a birth certificate or an ID card or a passport to each and every one of these 2.5 million people.
Very easy.
And it's so easy to account and to audit and to verify the integrity of the documents of 2.5 million people. It's just a city in many countries.
Yes.
So the government has to have the vision. When we say a system's change, we are envisioning a system in which the integrity of the documentation of citizens, whether at the ID card or passport or birth certificate level, is beyond question. And that confidence, because right now the questions you are posing is kind of pointing to lack of faith in the documentation. Yeah. And there shouldn't be a lack of faith. If the system is foolproof, every citizen will have full confidence.
Whose job is it to make sure?
And when every citizen have full confidence, the IEC would no more be an issue.
Exactly. But whose job is it to make sure that the process has integrity?
The government of the day.
Successive governments in that case.
Jawara failed. Yahya Jammeh failed.
And Barrow.
Barrow is failing.
Okay, let's go straight to the constitution because we have already touched matters there. The draft. You have had the holy hula baloo that greeted the gazetting and the government's defense of the documents. Not much have been heard from you. What's your position on this as compared to the 2020 draft?
Yeah, I mean, why didn't you say as compared to the 1997? I mean,
because 100 and something million have been spent in trying to, come up with a law. That's why nobody wants to bring in the much maligned 1997 constitution. But then, yes,
it's like the 2020 draft constitution went to parliament. That's a fact. And as far as we know, it has failed to pass to even a second reading according to sources, isn't it? And when we're moving forward, we're bound to ask, why did it fail? I think my answer would be there was a lack of a political consensus. The lack of a political consensus, derailed the legal process to institute the 2020 draft. So it doesn't matter whether it's 2024 or 25, the prerequisite of any constitution that has to go through a political process must first is to have a political consensus. So I think the 2024 constitution, the way I'm seeing it, is almost 90% doomed for the fact that it did not have a political consensus. And we know, when you ask me what kind of political consensus, we know that there is a lack of a political consensus in specific areas of the constitution.
Which are?
Well, I listened to so many of the press conferences and newspapers online and so on, and I think there was also the Abuja conference, which me and you didn't go because we are not leaders of political parties. No lawyer nobody is invited because you are a constitutional lawyer. So
you should have been invited, being an independent political leader.
Exactly.
or did you lose that status with the IEC? Well,
I like you. You're nice. But then what we knew, the political leaders went to Abuja, and I haven't had any one of the political leaders commenting about what happened behind the scenes, except when I had Dr. Sise saying that they almost agreed on all the points except the retroactive clause in the 2020 constitution.
On the term limit?
Yes, the term limit. Meaning they all agree that there should be a term limit of 10 years, but they did not agree, the NPP did not agree that the term limit should be back. How do you call it? It should be
retroactive.
It should be retroactive. And the UDP was the only contention that says that it should be retroactive. So this is what I call the sticking political point, the sticking political dispute. Now, if you ask me that sticking point, what is the solution? Every citizen will have, I believe that most of the people in the UDP will still say, well, there should be a retroactive. And I believe that most of the NPP will say, no, retroactive is not legal. So here comes us, the independent people, that the Gambians should listen to. Okay. And we tell you what should be the solution to that sticking point.
That's exactly my question.
Exactly. Now, in 1776, the American founders found the American Constitution, and it is still living up to date. George Washington,
and I had it just 2 pages.
Yes, Thomas Jefferson. And then you have the David and the other guys. About 4 of them became presidents later. These were politicians. So when politicians agree, there will be a consensus. Now, you asked me, should there be a retroactive clause or not? I said, morally, there should be. I will be angry with Barrow if he don't accept it. Morally, he should accept it. In fact, it should not even have a reason, because Barrow has said that he will not serve for more than 10 years. But I also, when he came to power,
he said he said 3 years.
No. First he said, I know, I'm coming.
Well, everybody.
He said that I don't want to serve more than 10 years. He also said that.
He told me, I remember, in 2021, that 2022, that he didn't want to serve for 20 years. He said that. He said, I wouldn't serve more than 20 years. He said that.
Yeah, but he said a lot of things.
I have that in record.
He said many things. He also said that when my 3 years finish, I will.
Well,
Then he said 10 years. Then he said, but those are all. We still know that while he was saying all that, he knew at the back of his mind that the Constitution gave him unlimited, because the 1997 Constitution says unlimited, isn't it? That's a moral question. Now, the legal question, I am not a lawyer, and I think lawyers should be brought to. I haven't seen any clip of any lawyer to say that a clause that is retroactive should be in a constitution, and what is the legal?
They said it was there in 2020. Well, now it's not there.
No, 2020 was not a constitution. It was a draft constitution. So I am saying that which constitutional lawyer is going to come and tell us? I'm still waiting that it is legal to have a retroactive clause. I just recently asked one lawyer off the hook like that, and he told me now it's complete nonsense. It cannot happen. You cannot have a retroactive. You see, when I say things, I am not saying it because I am Barrow, or I am Khalifa, or I am Dabo. No, I will not do that. That's not why I joined politics. I will say it because I think that is what is right to say at that moment. It is completely make no sense to have a clause in a constitution knowing that that clause is only relevant to one individual, and when that individual is dead or is gone, that clause is redundant. That is why I mentioned to you 1776 American Constitution. They made something, a document which did not refer to anybody in particular.
Exactly.
It did not refer to Thomas Jefferson. It did not refer to George Washington.
So now when even in America,
yeah.
And in fact right now in ECOWAS, no matter what you think of them, they still want to establish this fact that 2-term is 2-term for the individual.
Yeah.
Whether or not you have a constitution, the moral standing that ECOWAS is preaching is that a human being who serves 2 terms should go.
Yes.
So now, whether is the argument...
And I agree with that.
That's right.
I agree with
whether the argument is we have a constitution or we don't have a constitution, the moral standard that ECOWAS is preaching all over.
Yeah.
And in fact, in our case, since this new government, from the very beginning, came on the back of a campaign to end self-perpetration in power.
Yeah.
And the president himself had said he is committed to 2 terms.
Yes.
But apparently, he could not muster the moral courage to say, look, I should set the example.
Yeah.
If I want to end self-perpetuation, I should be the one who should set the example and say, look, I'm going to be the, how do you call it, George Washington of America, of the Gambia.
Yeah.
I'm going to set in here a clause, starting from me, that nobody will serve 2 terms. And if he does that, even at this moment, which is still not late, he will be our George Washington. Because nobody else will come now, to cross that line. And then historically, he would have been here for thousands of years to come, that it was Adama Barrow who had this opportunity to end this, and he took an example of himself.
Sure.
That is an argument of its own.
Yes.
So whether he would do that or not is a moral lesson for him to take or not.
Exactly.
But then if you look at the reflection of the wishes of the people, that's exactly what they want.
Yes.
So whether the president will take that or not is another argument.
Yeah, that's why I said it's more a moral question for Barrow. Just like how there was a moral question in the 3 years or 5 years.
2019.
And we know what happened. With the moral question for 3 years, he refused to accept the moral question.
Absolutely.
So that means it's not within his values to accept moral arguments. So, but then ECOWAS, we are not ruled by ECOWAS. We are not. No country in ECOWAS is ruled by the ECOWAS. Every country is ruled by your own constitution. So now that boils down the question. If he does not accept the moral thing, I think if you said, well, now we will not pass it, we will not vote for the constitution in parliament because Barrow refused to accept the moral thing. Well, that one too is your right not to accept it, but we still back. It means that Gambia is back to square one, and it means that we are just stuck with the 1997 constitution. And I think that was where judgment could have come and tell them, okay, at that moment, if you accept that, let the retroactive be removed. You understand? Then Barrow would have already served his 5 years by now. You understand? And he may even lose in 2026, which will not give him more than 10 years.
Well, ultimately, that is what I had some analysts said. Well, you know what? If we cannot get them to do the moral thing, the correct thing, then again, ultimately, it's the people who own the power.
Yes.
You may like to go for 100 years, but when the people say one day, you don't go beyond 1 day. But then the whole issue is this, and I want to ask you now: if we are stuck with the 1997 Constitution, whose fault will it be? Collectively, all of us, or the government?
Whose fault will it be?
Yes, if we are stuck with the much maligned 1997 Constitution from 2017 to now, we are still stuck with. If we get stuck to even beyond 2026, whose fault would it be? All of us collectively?
So now you should go and respond for me in your comment question, because I'm not gonna say what people like. I'm gonna say whose fault is it?
Yes, whose fault
now,
would that be?
For what I have heard, okay, doctor said that everybody in Abuja.
Which doctor?
Dr. Sise.
Oh, okay.
Said the communication minister. He said everybody in Abuja agreed on every clause, and the only dispute was on the retroactive between NPP and UDP.
No, he blamed the UDP.
No, wait. So wait, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Now we see all the other parties agree with how things are. You understand? So if those were the only two parties that grounded the negotiation, you understand? Now, one person can come and say, well, morally, Barrow should have accepted, so UDP was right to resist. Then another person can say, well, that's only moral, but legally, a retroactive clause is a non-starter. It's not legal. Both of them are right, isn't it?
You haven't
who is at fault is 6 and 9.
UDP and NPP.
Yes.
Are to blame.
They are to blame. And you see what I'm telling you. If it was a coalition, until that time, if the coalition had been broken, we would have had it, because that single clause would not have held it. Because there would have been mutual interest. So the lack of mutual interest is simply because they split. And when they went to Abuja, because there was already a split, they could not agree. So who should be blamed? 6 and 9.
NPP and UDP.
NPP, the National People's Party, and the UDP, the United Democratic Party.
Now, you cannot dispute that these are the two main parties, biggest parties in the country. If you said they are 6 and 9, the message you want people to take home is that in order to emerge from all these problems and for a brighter picture, people need an alternative choice to these two. Has that not been your message?
Yes.
And which one are you talking about now? You recently associated yourself with Joy.
Yes.
I wonder how much independence is left of your independent
the People's Democratic Organization.
So you identified yourself now with DOI.
Yes.
You ascribe to the philosophies of DOI. You think they are the solution?
Yes. So you see, in politics, nothing is impossible. When Ablaye Wade came on the scene, it was a new party that came completely, isn't it? I'm coming there. Maybe you could say he has been existing for 30, 40 years before.
Yeah.
When Make came, how old was Make's party?
It was new.
Very new.
Yeah.
And Make is gone.
Yes.
The party that replaced Make, how old is it?
5 years.
so here I'm coming. But there are people who like to reference, and I'm not the only one who like to reference Gambia and Senegal. You understand?
Okay.
Everybody does it in the political scene.
I will
there are
come
people
to
who
we will
say,
come to that.
So now, if you ask me, yes, I would say yes. Gambians need a solution, because the problem of lack of a new constitution, the problem of our inability to account for Jammeh's assets, the problem of the OIC, right, and so many other problems is a shared problem of the coalition that took over. And that was likely the NPP and the UDP. So if you ask me, what do you need? Am I going to tell you, okay, let's continue with Barrow, like some are saying? Well, I would say, well, if we continue with Barrow, corruption will just continue. Let's bring UDP. I would tell you, well, you're going to get the same thing. So let's look for an alternative, right? Yes, obviously, I know, that my party, DOI, hadn't got, the percentages before, but I am saying that anything can happen. You know what?
It has been around much longer than these parties you're talking about.
Yeah, because for so long, right, the population has been, captured in the politics of patronage. You understand? Like Sidi and Khalifa used to say, the politics of patronage has been here since 1965. And DOI has come to challenge the politics of patronage, which is not easy to challenge. But as we go, people are seeing the problem is still the same problem that is there. And we must not tire to tell them Moses has been waiting at the door of Pharaoh for 40 years before he could even see Pharaoh. Human beings are taught not to give up. We cannot give up simply because the numbers are low. No, the truth can take time. But I believe that Gambians will see the truth. And in 2026, Gambians are going to give their back to 6 and 9.
Well, much easier said than done. But if you look at DOE itself, the Honorable Khalifa Saleh, who had been a pioneer and contested on the party as party's flag bearer, more than Sidia, who started it, has said he will not make himself available for election anymore. Will his absence affect the party's acceptance, or rather it will really help him, because he will operate in the background, of course.
Yeah, I think Gambia politics is a thing of faces. I think Khalifa has done great, and Syria, in forming the party and trying to build the core and then the philosophy and selling it around the country. I think that's greatly commendable. You may not succeed in the votes, but you have succeeded maybe in enlightening the people. People turned to them for when the transition was going on in 1994, and people also turned to them when the transition had to come in 16. So obviously you have to give credit to what they have done. But I think though it's a party. I mean, it's not an individual. So if Khalifa goes, there are still a lot of people there who have been with the party for a long time, and some of us who have joined. I believe that the party will gain momentum and will build on what is already there.
For example, there have been a lot of talks recently as to how problematic succession problems can be within the UDP and even the NPP. Yeah. And I think forever it is even more difficult to know who is in charge in DOE. Particularly now. Do you envisage a young man like you coming up forward to be flag bearer?
And anything is possible. I think, it's like, we're not having the problems that I'm hearing in the UDP, Yunus Hydra coming and saying some kind of things. We don't have that thank God, that yet. But yes, I think there's a lot of young people in the PDOIS who are ready for the challenge to take the party to the next level, and who have learned their lessons and have learned from the pioneers, Khalifa, Syria, and Cham, to go to the next level.
Yes. And then with them, perhaps you think the methods will change, because laymen and people who are not initiated or find it difficult to understand the doctrine of DOE will say, well, why do they act differently? Why don't they want to socialize with the people? Why don't they want people to drum? Why don't they want to come and socialize with people and ask for their votes?
What do you mean by socialize? I've seen them socializing.
You see, there have been this mistaken view of the party as a special kind of people who wouldn't do as others do. Come here.
You already said mistaken. So
yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, mistaken view. They obviously the politics of patronage has that we found ourselves in, from the PPP to the APRC, and then to the coalition, the UDP-led coalition, and the Barrow government now.
Yes,
we have seen a lot of deception. And the deception is about trying to make the people believe that the guy who is bringing you a bag of rice and then cooking the biggest bowl of benachin is going to save you. But now,
I see,
Gambians have seen guy yeb gis na mobe ajale ko say wo mari boto men kana janni kate ko fay o buka tin buka foire ya bay
obuka
foire ya bay wo ko ni men ka dila wo buka foire ya bay because you more ni o ko ni dila to ke like wakati to la Swiss bank accounts be foreign tap, and that is why the people see that now so much poverty in the country. And I think when you tell Gambians, I've been around, I'm always around, like you said at the beginning. I'm a very active guy, because I know. As a teacher, I even don't like teachers who like to sit and give their lectures. So when I'm a politician, I don't like to just be talking on the social media or other media. I like to go on the ground, and I think what I hear on the ground, people are saying this is not working, and what they are referring to is this politics of patronage.
So what has been working? I mean, DOE had spent 40 years close to fighting this politics of patronage, and it's still around. So what methods do you think, what new methods do DOE needs now within the course of 2 years, as you predicted, for them to completely remove this and get themselves elected, on a platform where everybody, as they say, will be the commanders of their own destinies and free themselves from all these bundles of political patronage. If it has taken them 30 years or so, how realistic you think that in the next 2 years alone, people will sit, or do you think increasingly people are seeing that they are right over all the issues that have been discussed?
Well, I think when you say 30 years, it's kind of a clouded statement, because we know what happened. Yeah. We know they started in around 1986. 1987. And then 87. And then for how many years later, 8 years later, there was a coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And what happened after the coup d'etat? They played their role, to see that the transition from a military to a dictatorship and the presence of democratic voice, remains. And we saw obviously Sidia and Khalifa and Sam, had to suffer some of the consequences of Jammeh. So, like I said, politics is not just about voting, but, they have played a role, and I don't think it is insignificant. You are only looking at it in terms of maybe the votes that they have. But
I'm looking at the terms of the always, DOIS is presented with obstacles. I mean, their progress is always halted by obstacles in the emergency of Jammeh. If DOI had continued with the PPP until 1992 or 1997, there's a great feeling that DOI would definitely have mobilized a lot of people, politically educated people would have perhaps started, taking over, PPP's support base. But then when Jammeh came, DOI was optimistic and was much in a hurry for us to go to transitional time when everybody will be free. But again, Jammeh disappointed everybody by saying that he's not going to go, and then come to bring out political patronage. That again halted DOI, the progress DOI made. Then we come to the Barrow era. DOI was instrumental in shaping up all the instruments that led to the change. DOI was hopeful that the coalition, will go as stand, and after 3 years, everybody would have gone, political patronage would have ended and everything. Here come Barrow saying, I'm not going. Yeah. Another holds to the progress that we have made.
No, so it's completely different.
So these two instances, don't you think, are the things that probably, slowed down the progress?
Yeah, I already told you how the coup d'etat, when I hear from the founders, Khalifa saying, derail the progress of the party.
But the refusal of the transitional government also.
Yes, but I'm coming there.
Yeah.
The problem there is, Jammeh made, an iron coating successfully for 22 years. So it is very difficult for free flow of information in the Jammeh government.
Yes.
Now, nobody has monopoly over the information. And you see, when I see social media, I see them punching everywhere. We write one statement, they are all shouting because they know how it affects the public perception about them, talking the truth. So I am saying that things have changed.
Yes.
A lot of variables have changed in the macro environment.
Okay.
And one of those key variables is the free flow of information. That is poking a hole into this iron coating, whether it's a democratic or military iron coating that the Barrow government has been trying to maintain, and it has made them very, very vulnerable, both the political class, which is both the 6 and 9, in the sense that they are now exposed to some new kind of challenges. So I think this is an opportunity for the PDOIS, and I think this is a golden opportunity for us to carry the day in 2026, because to send information, to receive information is so easy now, and people are now seeing, oh really, this is really what is happening. And they are still trying to maintain a clench on the information. If I look at the media houses, like I just said, my wife Fatu Ture, you know, that sometimes you the media guys get in the crossfire. Yeah, we don't really mean to attack journalists, but we know that the politics of patronage has an objective, and the objective of the politics of patronage is first of all to capture the mind of the people. To try to capture the stomach, which they have failed because people are still hungry. Okay. But no matter how hungry the man is, they still believe that you can still capture his mind towards you, so that he thinks that you are the ultimate savior. That's why I'm saying, how can the UDP tell people that they are better than Barrow when we know what has happened in 8 years is still fresh in our mind? So people like us are bringing VAR to try to show people, and you know, so I'm telling you in summary, in a nutshell, that the politics of patronage has been Gambia's, you know, how do I call it, scourge or pandemic for the past 50 years. And it is finally, the chains are breaking. Yes, I feel the chains are breaking, because when I send a message today, people in Kurang are watching it. They are watching me right now in Kurang. They are watching me in Salikenye. People are watching me in Yabakunda. So, you know, it is difficult. Once the political class cannot maintain that monopoly, they are weak. So, 29 years of Jawara, 22 years of Yaya Jammeh, Barrow is not going to take that to collapse.
Well, he said he wouldn't go for 20. but from what
he can't decide how long he will go for. The people will decide.
The people will decide. Yes. Well, but that's what we said of Jawara and Jammeh. Jammeh wanted 1 billion. Yes, he hasn't got even I didn't hear.
But in Jawara's time, there wasn't even a TV. Yeah, you know, the TV only came when Jammeh came, and he monopolized the TV. Yeah. Now we have more than 20 TVs in the Gambia, online and offline TVs. So they cannot. The monopoly is broken of information.
Let's talk about these aspects of politics, the wind of change blowing in the continent. You obviously said you don't like to compare Gambia and Senegal, but in Senegal, much recently, there's this wave of youth, enthusiasm into politics that led to the election of historically a lot more youthful leadership in that country, or in fact, in most part of the continent. I think it's the first, the Pastef Usman Sonko philosophy. Many people said, well, perhaps the salvation of the Gambia lies on the youths, people like yourself, people like some of you who are in the politics, yourself, the SR Fowles, these Mamadou Sabalis, the Dr. Ibrahim, Dr. Ismail Cisse, and so on and so on and so on. But then commentators are saying perhaps we should think twice, because some of those youths they think have not lived up to what they think is expected. They have the right to join any association, but they thought perhaps they would have been stayed with a lot more independent posture than they actually did by jumping on what the critics say, the bandwagon, stuff like that. So do you think the future of the country in terms of salvation of a better leadership lies on the youth?
Yeah, I think that is an historical arithmetic fact, that the future depends on the people of the future, which is the youth. You cannot deny that. However, to judge all the youths in the country by the behavior maybe of a few is a very miscalculated analysis.
It's not a bad behavior. It is their right.
No, that's where I'm coming.
Yes.
I just said few.
Well,
I'm not referring to any particular. Some of them, the way they see maybe Dr. and Sabali is not the way I see them.
Yeah.
I don't see them necessarily as saying that they are bad because they joined Barrow. No. I mean, like I said, it's for number one, it's their choice.
It's their choice.
Number two, in Gambian history, cross-carpeting has always been there.
Yes.
And it has never made any politician worse than the rest.
So they have not done any wrong.
There was.
But there was very little.
So many people. Where was UP? There was United Party, the UP in 1960s.
Absorbed
by the PPP.
Yeah.
And where is the NCP and the other parties that were there? Absorbed by the UDP. So people have been moving around, and NCP still exists, and PPP still exists, but people, those same guys who moved to PPP, to UP, to PPP to UDP, are now saying, oh, somebody has moved from UDP to NPP. I mean, what's the big deal? As if
Dr. Caesar
has
abandoned the
CA to the NPP. No, I don't see it. I still want to judge every individual based on their track record, rather than which party. I think you can.
No, most people. Well, I listened to commentaries. Yes. So they said, okay, what they missed is that.
Yeah.
Okay, these two people, maybe and also maybe Alhaji Mamadi Kurang, I mean, represent so much hope. Yeah. For the youths. They see them as idols and how to call it, people who inspire them.
Yeah.
But then they wanted them to remain independent, or perhaps in the opposition, rather than joining the system that exists, because of the fact that now they will be, it will be conflicting. They find it difficult now, to accept the very things that they are against.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with their age. Number one,
yeah.
You cannot judge somebody. Oh, he's doing this, and he say, "Oh, let's go back to the old people," because the young people. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with their age.
And on their individual.
And also, it has. They have an individual right to do what they want to do with respect for that. And also, that does not deny you choices. There are still other choices if you don't
like
want to choose.
Yes. If Mamadi Kurang is today handed a job in the government, will you take it?
Well, I've been invited to take jobs, but no, I'm not saying the cabinet. I've not been invited to be a minister, but I've been invited to take jobs
in the government.
In the borough government, obviously.
After the election.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
And
after the 2021 election, yes.
You turned it down.
I've never worked for the government.
No, what I mean, did you turn down any?
No, but what I'm saying, in my career, I've never worked for the government. I've done consultancies, like the Jane Commission was a consultancy. I do consultancies with the government, but I've always been an independent person. I've never worked for any government. I've worked during maybe Gamtel, Jawara's time for a while, but then I've never worked.
Will you abandon DOI if you are offered today to go and join the NPP?
I say I've been offered. I've been invited. I've been invited to the UDP. I've been invited to the NPP, and then yes, they should continue to invite me, because if they think that I'm an asset, there's nothing wrong to invite me. But what I'm saying is I'm okay with what I'm doing. Yes, I'm contented with what I'm doing. I've been an independent person since 2000. I have employed people, and they've worked with me. And I love what I'm doing. Yes, I have done consultancies both in the country and outside the country, and I think I want to keep it that way. Yeah, for now.
Okay, finally, let's wrap up now. Like I said, with the politics, the new politics that is sweeping in Senegal, the PASTEF idea.
Yes.
As a Gambian politician, young politician, how do you see?
Yes, I think it's.
Does it have any implications on the Gambia?
Senegal is obviously an inspiration. I think Gambia was an inspiration for Senegal when we removed Cham. I see a lot of Senegalese celebrating it genuinely. They were very happy that Gambia removed a dictator.
Was not because of their own opposition to him, rather than our ability to change the government, because they have been changing their government since.
Yeah, but it's the same. Gambia and Senegal, you cannot separate them, because all of us have relatives there, and we have interest in Senegal. Whether political interest or economic interest, we have interest. Every Gambian has an interest in Senegal. So when Macky is there or Abdou Diouf is there, some of us don't want him to be there, and some of Gambians want him to be there for differently. So you cannot separate Gambian interest from Senegalese political interest. But what I'm saying is that yes, we have been an inspiration for them in 2016, and I think they too have been an inspiration for us in recently when they make a change, with Sonko and Domai, and I think it's making Gambians feel that yes, we've done it. Now they've done it, we can do it again. But obviously people said every Gambian now wants to be like Domai or Sonko, but really, it's good to be inspired, but I think we Gambians must be very, very observant still. Like I said, we must continue to debate. We must continue to the reason why healthy debates are important is to be able to separate the butchers from the chaff, to know really that when we go into changes that we don't suffer what we suffered in 2016, because 2016 everybody wanted Jammeh to go. So we said, oh, we can take anything.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be a politics again of we can take anything. I think there must be, real scrutiny.
Yeah, I talk about the Senegalese because the emphasis is on the youth.
Yes.
I mean, they were able to galvanize the Senegalese youth to now say, and redundant, all the elderly politicians have now been redundant.
Yes.
And it looks like from henceforth now, the Senegalese youth are going to be ever more active in politics and would normally like youth leadership at any given time. I'm trying to say whether this might not, be transmitted to Gambian political players who might now say, look, it's time to do away with the old ones now. Everywhere now we must, pick on the youths and get them into leadership. If that happens here, for example, in the UDP, there are a chaotic debate as to whether, Lawyer Dabo should not retire now and get people who are younger. People are speculating that could be Talib Bensouda, that could be Lamin Sane, and all the rest of the people there. In the NPP, people are saying, in fact, Barrow, whenever he leaves, there will be a problem there because they don't know who will come, after him. So, I talk about Doi. In Doi, from the beginning, it has always been difficult to know who will succeed, who actually is in charge, because for them it's a collective this thing. When it comes to that, do you think, like you're talking about in the 2026 election, did you see a liberated, youth movement that may be, in fact, not from, any political party, but from all political parties trying to form a body that will also galvanize, and get youth enthusiasts to look for younger leadership?
I think in politics, it's more likely that people galvanize and get together based on ideologies and based on ideas rather than based on age. It's more easy, because, people may be young, but they may share different ideas of how the country should be run.
Yeah, and, like Pastef had an idea. Exactly.
So, and there were other young people in Senegal who did not agree with Sonko and Diomaye.
Yeah.
We saw some of the young politicians who did not endorse them.
But most of the people who actually they defeated are elderly people who have been around for ages.
Yeah, actually, it is also has to do with the collective consciousness of the society to accept fundamental truths, to be able to bring in a fundamental change. And I think Gambians cannot be naive to think that we are at the same level with Senegal. Not at the same level. Since 1980s, when the Ablai Wada also was fighting and they had a system of natural coalition, 50+1.
Yeah.
Our political class are comfortable with simple majority.
Yeah.
So you can have a Gambian who will win the presidency in 2026 with 100 and something thousand votes.
Without enjoying the support of the majority.
With only maybe 15% of it. So it means that our society is a little bit backwards in terms of thinking. And we can't deny that. It doesn't mean that I'm saying that Lamin Cham is inferior to a journalist, sports journalist, or a TV journalist in Senegal. No, I'm not talking about individuals. Or I'm not saying Sonko is better than our politician. No, but the collective consciousness of the society, Senegal is at a different level. So I don't expect, for example, if we cannot even succeed in passing a constitution, and then come back and face people as politicians and tell them that, well, we still have to go ahead with the Jammeh constitution. Yeah, Jammeh's constitution, a military constitution, is what we have to go ahead with. That was passed by, tell people, the environment is different, right? Senegal, they removed their leaders with 50+1. Our leaders cannot even agree to have a constitution in place. We are comfortable with going with a military constitution, and nobody is saying anything about it. I don't think we are at the level of Senegal yet.
Finally, I said finally, but this one is definitely finally. What about the transitional justice? We still not out of, well, lack of a constitution, you could say, is still a relic of our failure to, to implement a transitional justice system, if you like. But there are remnant things that the implementation of the TRRC recommendations, the issue about Jammeh and his alleged junglers, stuff like that. How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, the first point of the transitional justice is to bring in a third republic.
Yeah, we still haven't been able to do that.
1970, we had the first republic.
Yes.
1997, we had the second republic. We are still running on a second republic. So if you haven't managed to bring a third republic, which should have all the provisions of how to deal with all these other issues about compensation, recompensing the people who suffered, security sector reform, civil service or public service reform.
Well, the government claim these are happening.
No, I haven't seen any security sector reform yet.
Oh, you haven't had all the workshops and all
No, they only just form a commission which they say can vet, people. But it's 8 years. It was expected to be done within 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, if it's taking 8 years and is still not successfully concluded, or one of the most fundamental things, which is a new constitution, I think the transitional justice has been hijacked. All the commissions were about transitional justice. The TRRC was meant to bring a reform and never again.
Yeah.
And it's still happening. And it's still not concluded. Jammeh, nobody can tell you whether Jammeh will be brought to account or not, and what are the reasons. Nobody knows. The Jammeh Commission was about, taking away, the kind of the tilimbalia of dealing with public resources. That tilimbalia is still there, right? The CRC was about the new constitution. It's not done. The land reforms, Lamin, we know. Gambia, everywhere people have been fighting since the new coalition, since Yahya Jammeh left, over land. People are Molbenyo Sepulafana, right? And still now, you haven't seen a land commission to come and resolve these issues.
Well, the new Minister of Lands did say there's a commission to investigate it. They should have, by now they would have finished, because 30 days they had.
No, he is talking about investigating I think, some of the incidences.
Yeah.
That is not the Land Commission. The Land Commission is supposed to be a comprehensive review of all the land issues within the country. Some of them due to maybe the intervention of the former President Jammeh while arbitrarily taking. Yeah. Those issues are not resolved. Communities are there in this country whose land have been taken by the ex-government.
Yeah.
And still now, no judicial process or commission process has been in place to make sure that there is a restoration of the rights of the people to their land. This was all part of the transitional justice.
But it wasn't done.
And none of them have been. So it's been hijacked.
By who?
By 6 and 9.
The UDP and the NPP.
Yes.
Alhaji Mamadi Kurang. Why is it important to add Alhaji? Have you been to Mecca?
Oh, my grandfather. I'm named after him. I'm proud to use him because he went to Mecca without an aeroplane.
Went by horse or car?
By foot and by horse, I believe.
Well, Alhaji Mamadi Kurang, then thank you very much for being on the brunch, and we looking forward to having more of you in other programs. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased. You are very witty, and I love the conversation.
Thank you. We'll be back next week with more brunch. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, Takaful Fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Planning to have an uninterrupted electricity and water supply from solar energy in the Gambia and beyond? Worry no more, because Solar Enterprise will provide you with the solutions at reasonable cost. We have experienced personnel who can install and advise you about your electricity and water supply with a warranty period. We have good quality solar products from North America and Europe. We provide services and sell products to individuals, organizations, institutions, private offices, communities, and government. These products are solar panels, batteries, charge controllers, inverters, water pump, water heaters, freezers, submersible pumps, and general solar accessories. Visit our stores at 48 Karaba Avenue and Brusubi Highway, or you can call us on 7657 479 980 8483 340 9400 or 635-9906.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Brusubi opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited, or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051, or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
Agada
ke mbijan aganya
albaka
mbaka important
yo nga transfer la sto
ya transfer la
ha code nyinji
okay important nsila id soto
sa soto sorry agada
mbijan bro
albaka
mbaka
bara alla service o tariya
bare
mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya
jannom yona forest de bureau Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere birim koyna fo kato
bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolon labe
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam
ha
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol nko kodo kiya bere kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nim kodi maraw jannom number 1 di nyonta andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi man domorol di fana beteat Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je
wo moyo diat
apelenta
barka ni na lafta nyelan kendol e binaji
yalo bu kanila ko la barka ba
yalo ndel ciosano la
barka